guys have Minnesota sports flowing in their veins. Mackie and Judd on SKOR North and SKORNorth.com.
All right. He is Darren Doogie Wolfson from the 5 Eyewitness News Sports Department here with some scoopage on our Minnesota Vikings and other Minnesota sports teams. Doogs, what's going on, man?
Hi, Phil. Happy Tax Day.
Happy Tax Day to you guys. Hopefully you guys are getting everything you want out of Tax Day.
File mine today. They got to go in today. Still in file.
Oh, you're like last minuting here today?
Yeah.
Come on, Judd.
Yeah.
Sports Dad?
Yeah,
should be on top of this stuff.
Last minute.
No.
Well, we are. I just got them done. My tax guy, I've got a e-sign right now. It's fine. It's going to be fine. There's no return for Sports Dad, so there's no incentive to get it done for Sports Dad.
You're delaying the payment.
No incentive to get your taxes done on time by any means. Yeah.
Well, how's there no return for Sports Dad? Think about all that you can write off.
Uncle Sam don't like Sports Dad.
Whoa.
Uncle Sam don't like Sports Dad.
I need to get you in touch with my tax guy.
IRS?
Good tax guy.
Dude, good God. You just alerted. There's like bells and whistles going on. Wolfsons, whoop, whoop.
Scoops from the penitentiary.
When you are Sports Dad, there are all sorts of possibilities.
Is your tax guy in like a dark room with an old school calculator, just like, hey, here's what we're going to get for you?
He's actually in the KSTP Zoom room, that dungeon that I sometimes join you guys from. He's got a corner office in that room. Yeah.
Wow.
All right. Well, good luck to Doogie staying away from the feds, and good luck to Judd getting his e-signatures in before the deadline here. Doogs, let's start with Vikings. We got a little over a week until the NFL draft, and they still, it sounds like at this point they're not going to add any quarterbacks till after the draft. But what are you hearing about the lead up to the draft here? Drew Lock came off the board too as a QB2 option, so we have no idea what they're thinking at QB2. But what's some of the Vikings team you're hearing?
All right. Well, I mean, they were not in on Drew Lock. They were not in on Joe Flacco. In fact, Phil, Joe Flacco's representation was trying to get Joe here. He thought it was a very logical fit. He's got another big-time client here. He loved the idea, Joe's representation of Joe being here. But the Vikings never took the bait. Like, the Vikings did not make an offer in the end. So, hey, congratulations to Joe Flacco on getting one heck of a contract with the Browns. But it's not like the Vikings curled up in the fetal position late Friday or whenever that was, late Thursday, thinking, oh, no, we lost out on Joe Flacco. Not the case at all. So, yeah, I mean, all signs point to some activity after the draft. I mean, you're hearing the Ryan Tannehill steam because he has the same representation as J.J. McCarthy. I still think a trade makes a bit more sense. Not that Tannehill is off their board, but I just wonder if sometime in May they strike some sort of trade for a backup. But yeah, I mean, it's a fun talker for us, but like over in Egan, they are not worried about it. They know that there are still a number of possibilities. I just know it's not as big a deal to them as maybe it is to some of the fan base.
And I don't think the fan base is concerned. I think we're curious because there is no way that O'Connell does not have a plan here. Like, I think we would have been very concerned in previous right, the Spielman years. It'd be like, what are you doing? I think the more important talker now is like, what is the plan? I feel like we might be missing something. And along the trade talk, Dukes, can you throw out some names? Like we've talked about O'Connell from the Raiders. We talked about Sam Howell, who now is going to be pushed out, it looks like, with the Seahawks. But as we talked about on PD today, Howell's sack rate and pickoff rate is so high, doesn't seem like a real O'Connell fit. So what's your feeling about possible trade targets and or possibilities?
Well, I mean, was Nick Mullins a KOC fit? Right? I mean, I wouldn't rule out Sam Howell. I absolutely wouldn't rule out Sam Howell. Yeah, I mean, that would be a name I would absolutely key in on. Yeah, certainly I get the Aiden O'Connell chatter as well. Those would be two names for sure. Like, I don't have a list that goes much deeper than that. There may perhaps be some name out there. I would key in on those two names for sure. I absolutely would. Now, like, Also, you mentioned that, okay, so we're what, 9 days out from the first round of the draft. It'll be fun to join you gentlemen at the Fillmore. I'm starting to think like there is so much invested in this year. I wonder if Kwesi, when he sits down with us on Thursday, will begin to articulate how high the expectations are, even with the JJ McCarthy era about to start, how high the expectations are for this year. So while like I think there are Malachi Starks fans or some other defenders, Derek Harmon in Egan, like I'm starting to think like you're going offense with that first pick. You just are. Like what's the most glaring need? Like Blake Brandel, okay, swing back up, left guard, right? I'm starting to think that makes more and more sense. Not that I'm saying, hey, no way, no how on a wide receiver. Like I don't think they're going running back at this point, but I'm not ruling out wide receiver. But like the most glaring need, I mean, they really are. I get it, Phil. You've talked about this Super Bowl window being open now for multiple years. But is it going to be more open than it is this year? I'm starting to really wrap my arms around, okay, like the defense, Flores, he has enough. Like they can be a top 5 defense as is. I get it. You can always think about depth. I understand that. But that helping the offense makes more sense with that first pick.
I'll say this. The Purple Daily Anonymous tip line has been pretty hot the last 5 or 6 weeks. I still think they're going to add a cornerback after the 28th of April when that comp pick deadline clears. And if right now, I would say I think they're going to sign Asante Samuel Jr. So they might have that. They might have that in their back pocket right now going into the draft. He's a 25-year-old cornerback. He's going to come in here on a 2-year deal or something, which might impact what they do on draft night before that becomes official. But you just hit on not the crossroads, but the interesting situation that they find themselves in. It's a lot like the 2008 going into 2009 Vikings in some way, where the roster looks ready to rock, and you're just wondering about the quarterback position. In that case, 15 years ago, they decided, we don't love the young option on the roster here. We already kind of know what we have in Tavares Jackson, so we're going to go into the elderly bin and grab Brett Favre. This time around, to this point, they've said no to the elderly bin, and Albert Breer had a great in-depth feature in KOC talking about J.J. McCarthy. It looks like right now they believe McCarthy can be good enough and they can trick the system up enough to compete for a Super Bowl with a roster that looks like it's ready to do so, Dukes.
Accurate, yes. They feel like J.J. McCarthy is ready to lead them deep into January immediately. So, yes, I absolutely agree with that. I will say on adding a cornerback, I'm with you. I would not rule that out whatsoever. Let's just say you bring up the name specifically Asante Samuel Jr. Let's just say, based on his representation, representing a number of draft prospects. In fact, you look at Monday in Ann Arbor, Will Johnson, the Michigan corner, Durante Jones, Vikings DB's coach, being there in Ann Arbor, doing all sorts of due diligence. Now, I wouldn't bet on Will Johnson landing with the Vikings, but it makes sense. Like the Vikings do all the homework they possibly can. But let's just say there are some connections. So, whether it's Asante Samuel Jr. or somebody else, definitely on my radar after the draft. Yes. Yeah, I mean, backup quarterback for sure, but adding a cornerback, Phil, yeah. And hey, if that's the Purple Daily anonymous tip line that gets the hat tip on the tip of the hat on that, fine, whatever, right? But I'm just saying, reading some tea leaves, I wouldn't dismiss that idea. I wouldn't.
Oh, the tip line is everywhere, Dukes. It's in bars in Florida. It's in nightclubs. It's more places that will
Sun
get
Country
to
Airlines
eventually.
Yeah.
It's phenomenal. Well, yeah, because they're stalking you. You bring up what I think is a super interesting discussion too. When it starts with what the expectations are for 2025, I think the most important thing is those expectations start with the Wilfs, and with the money that they just spent in the free agent market. I understand where there's a definite commitment to McCarthy, but there's also a wait and see there. And I sort of get it, because if you recall, Dukes, going back to the 2020, disappointing 2023 season, when Cousins got hurt at the end of that year, Mark Wilf was offered the chance to say, well, Kirk got hurt. That's it, right? And if you recall, Mark Wilf basically said, that's not an excuse. Like, he basically said, we didn't have a quarterback backing up Kirk who could win games consistently enough, and we should have. I got to think that left an impression. So, like, I'm lingering on this QB thing. I think they're going to sign one, trade for one. I think they definitely will. But the Breer thing was really an interesting roadmap also to what O'Connell and the coaching staff want to see from McCarthy himself. I just think this is a lot more potentially, because if McCarthy plays well, it's done. But I think this is a lot more potentially complex than we probably want to admit or are talking about as we sit here on tax day.
Well, I mean, fair, right? I mean, the elephant in the room is Aaron Rodgers, who still remains available, right? So if J.J. McCarthy somehow fails miserably late July into early August, I don't know how long that runway is. Does he get until August 25th? Or is it like August 10th? Will they have seen enough by that point, whenever that first joint practice is?
Great question.
With the Patriots or a different team at TCO, like those 2 days of joint practices? Like, do you formulate all sorts of strong opinions right after that?
Yeah.
Now, hey, I've said for a long time I'm bullish on J.J. McCarthy. Like, I will bet on J.J. McCarthy, but I get it. We need to talk about the other side of the thing, and it's possible he struggles, right? So as long as Aaron is still out there,
I know,
right? That's sort of what I think you're alluding to, Judd, at least a little bit.
Well, that and Kirk.
Is Atlanta willing to eat money, though? Atlanta needs a backup. Atlanta has relatively high expectations this year. How much money is Atlanta willing to eat?
Do you think Atlanta's willing to go into the season forcing Kirk against his wishes to be the backup to Michael Penix?
Yeah,
because if they are, then
yeah. Now, do I think the Vikings would welcome him back? 100%. And do I think Kirk would be understanding of the situation here? 100%.
Okay.
I just don't know what those dynamics look like, though, with Atlanta having to eat a good chunk of money.
Well,
and why exactly are the Falcons willing to do that?
Could the Vikings eat a big chunk of money with some of the cap space they have in 2025, a la the Browns with that Osweiler trade that we brought up? I mean, but you know, if you're the Falcons and you've gotten to the point where you have to attach like a 3rd or a 4th round pick to Kirk and the Vikings eat some money, why wouldn't you just release him before the $10 million roster bonus hit for 2026 a few weeks ago? Is that Scooby?
Scooby's like, yeah.
Trust me. He
hates
is
the
pro
Falcons.
Kirk Cousins coming back. He is all about Kirk coming back.
But anti-mailman or whoever is.
Taxman.
Anti-taxman.
Here's what's amazing about Scooby.
The IRS always.
I mean, the Scooby sense is off the charts. So we adopted him. We figure he was about 2 years old when we got him. He's like 9.5 right now. There is a UPS truck 3 houses down. His disdain, though, for the UPS truck, we actually think back in the day he was hit by a UPS truck, maybe a FedEx truck, but a truck like that his hatred, like it's anger. Like
Amazon truck.
I'm telling you, I'm looking at him across the way here. He's got this. I want to rip your heart out look.
And I want him on my football team. I want him on my defensive line. Pronto.
Yeah, I'm staying far away.
You mock Scooby and you mock dogs, but in his mind, he is saving your life from danger right now.
Oh, absolutely. Well, I'm not mocking him. I promise. Trust me. He's my savior. He really is. He absolutely is. Yeah, no doubt. How does it happen, Phil? So you're saying Atlanta eat some money, but the Vikings are eating a good chunk of money.
Yeah.
And the Vikings are giving up. So it's a transaction. It's a trade. It's not the Falcons outright releasing Kirk. So the Vikings are giving up one of their 2026 late round draft picks.
Yeah, I think it would. We'd have to dig into the particulars of what's guaranteed left on the contract. But if the Falcons were desperate to get out from underneath money for the next couple of years, and they're already like on the hook for the signing bonus. They're on the hook for like $90 or $100 million of it. So at this point, there might not be any incentive to get off more because not all of it's guaranteed. I'm just saying there is precedent for teams with cap space. Hey, we are a friendly landing spot for this money, but you have to attach it's like a tax that you're paying to get rid of Kirk Cousins. I would put it this way. If I'm the Vikings, I would not give up draft capital for a backup quarterback if I could just sign Ryan Tannehill off the street right now. I'd rather just sign Tannehill than give up anything for Kirk Cousins, quite frankly.
Boy. So we're talking about a late round pick for Aiden O'Connell or Sam Howell. I'm taking my chances on one of those two guys over Ryan Tannehill.
Really?
Yeah, I think so.
Sam Howell, no way. O'Connell, maybe.
I love Judd's newfound absolute disdain for
the
Sam
pitch. You
Howell.
cannot throw you cannot get sacked consistently and throw 21 picks and be on the same page as my guy KO and me. Okay.
You didn't mind it when Brett Favre threw 20 picks in 2008 and came here.
Until I was sitting in the Superdome in 2009, he slung that SOB right across the middle.
Well, I'll never forget being in the Superdome press box and you walking over and just saying, "Doom and gloom is coming, Doogie."
Beware the eyes of
No.
Brett.
I told you that at
Judd
my 40th
foreshadowed what
birthday.
took place.
At my 40th birthday, Dukes is like, I think Favre is the MVP, and he was playing great. And I said, because I had covered him, I said he will break your heart. And in the press box, I ran up 3 stairs and said, and I grabbed you by the shoulders. I said, "Told ya."
Wait, 3 stairs or 3 floors?
3 stairs.
Yeah,
He was right behind me.
Ran up 3
Not
stairs.
three floors.
15 years ago,
Told ya.
I'll never forget it. Seriously. I can't remember what I had for dinner 2 nights ago, but 15 years ago, late January or whatever the exact date was, but
Who knows?
yeah,
We were all
2010,
hungover.
early 2010, Judd running up those 3 or 4 steps in the Superdome press box,
was
running up
tuckered
and
out.
saying, "I told you he would break your heart."
Your heart.
Oh,
it
my
was-
gosh.
It was so epic. But yeah, I mean, KOC, ultimate quarterback whisperer. So, I mean, if you feel like he can work with Sam Howell, I'm just saying I would not take Sam Howell off the list because of his deficiencies. I think he's on their radar. I do.
Okay, fair
Now, I
enough.
don't think he's the only name, but yeah, I think his name has come up in Egan. I do.
We'll get to a couple more Vikings things here, and then the rest of Doogie's scoop bag, including Wolves, Lakers on the horizon. But MSP Plumbing, Heating, and Air, Judd, who you've let into your house 10 times more than you've let Declan or me into your house.
That's exactly right. And guess why? Because they are the best in town. The furnace a couple weeks ago on the fritz, MSP comes and fixes it. And now I want to give you the opportunity to join MSP's Total Comfort Club, of which, of course, I belong. For $8 a month, get an AC tune-up, a furnace tune-up, and a plumbing check all included so that you get ahead of the problems before they start. Members get priority service, no waiting for days for a tech to show up. And if you need repairs, members get 10% off the service because MSP is that good. I'm going to tell you right now, Sports Dad is telling you, if you have a problem, they can fix it when it comes to plumbing, heating, and air. For service, give them a call, 651-615-4292, or check out their website, call MSP.com, call MSP.com, and make sure that you join the Total Comfort Club.
Legit Pizza is total comfort food, if you ask me. That throwback style, those pizza parlor vibes that you get when you crack those teeth into the stone-baked cracker thin crust, those exceptional ingredients. You're seeing on your screen here the pepperoni and sausage. I'm a sausage mushroom connoisseur myself when it comes to legit pizzas. You can find legit pizzas at a grocery store near you in the freezer section and have an authentic at-home pizza parlor experience. So, okay, Dukes, any other Vikings things, or you want to move on to other topics?
Well, I did spend some time Monday afternoon with former Gophers linebacker Cody Lindenberg of Anoka.
Yeah.
He visited the Vikings last week. Now, I guess I'll be surprised if he ends up with the Vikings based on, some teams like the 49ers and Browns and Saints that are doing more homework and just make more of a schematic fit sense. But like he told me, he loved, no surprise, but he was blown away at how impressive his Vikings visit was, interacting with Brian Flores, some of the other Vikings defensive coaches. And so, the Vikings do a really good job with those top 30 visits, plus Cody, being a local guy, doesn't apply to the 30. So in total, there were, around 40 prospects in Egan over the course of last week. But Cody was he was really, really impressed by the whole Vikings operation. So I wanted to make sure I passed that along.
I saw a graphic yesterday that the ESPN panel of experts, NBA experts, all picked the different results of the series. 10 different NBA analysts picked the Lakers to beat, all 10 of them, 10 for 10, picked the Lakers to beat the Timberwolves, most of them in 6 games, a couple in 7. I didn't see any sweeps in there. But that seems to be the consensus across at least like NBA national media, which is, the Wolves are interesting and feisty and Anthony Edwards is cute. But look what Luka did to them last year, and LeBron is rejuvenated, and the Lakers are going to play small ball 5 out and run Rudy Gobert off the court in embarrassing fashion. So are you buying into that, the Wolves are screwed, or do you think there's more to the story here as we look ahead to Saturday?
I do think it's a nightmare matchup, but truth be told, in this space last year, I thought the Phoenix Suns in the first round was a nightmare matchup. Now, I did think that would go 6 or 7 games, ended up going 4 games, as we know. I don't like this matchup. Now, I did have a lengthy conversation with Sam Mitchell. How about that for a name drop on Monday? We would have gone longer, but my Zoom time, I don't have one of those paid Zoom subscriptions, so my 40-minute clock was about to run out.
So 5 minutes remaining.
I know. So I went like 36, 37 minutes with Sam. I'll post that. Shameless plug on the KSTP Sports website sometime on Tuesday evening. But he talked me off the ledge a little bit. The Wolves are a deeper team. He hopes. Now, JJ Redick is a really good coach. He is super smart. But Sam said the Wolves should hope that Jackson Hayes is on the floor enough that the Lakers' best 5-man lineup doesn't include Jackson Hayes. You do need to guard against the whistle. We know that. The Lakers number 1 in the league in free throw rate. Some of that is the way they play, but there's also this perception it's the Lakers, it's Luka, it's LeBron. So the Wolves are going to have to overcome that. Among many points Sam made, can you get Luka to play defense? The Wolves really didn't do that in the Western Conference Finals last year. I get it, easier said than done. But can Jaden McDaniels show up offensively? Is that who Luka is guarding? And the Lakers are going to love the Austin Reeves, Mike Conley Jr. matchup. So how much can the Wolves play Mike Conley Jr.? To me, there is a role for Rudy, especially the way Rudy has been rebounding on the offensive end the last few weeks. Like, I'm okay putting Rudy on Rui Hachimura or Dorian Finney-Smith even. Like, I don't think that's going to be a train wreck of a matchup. The Wolves can take advantage in many ways of that matchup. They are going to ask Rudy Gobert to do so much this series. I think, Phil, it goes 6 or 7 games. But, yeah, right now I am picking the LA Lakers. I think, Ant can get there, but Sam and I were in agreement on this. The best player in this series is Luka Doncic. Ant is number 2, but then the Lakers have the 3rd and 4th best players. Like, Austin Reeves is that good. So LeBron, then Austin Reeves. And, hey, he's 23. So we can have a different conversation when he's 25, 26, 27. How often has a 23-year-old led a team to a championship? How often has a 60? Now, I know we're just talking about getting past the first round. We're not talking about mid-June at this point. But it's like, why couldn't the Warriors finish off the Clippers on Sunday? Or, hey, going back a week, why couldn't the Wolves finish off the Bucks? Went up 24. We can play the what-if game, right? But the Nuggets was such a better first-round matchup in my mind. Even though Jokic is the best player on the planet, it's like, why couldn't the Wolves match up against Denver? I just don't like this matchup against the Lakers.
Duke, with the extra time off, do you expect Chris Finch to have any curveballs game plan-wise for the Lakers?
Well, I think Jalen Clark is going to play.
Good.
I think there's absolutely a role for Jalen. Now, he's going to have to show up on the offensive end, but I think they're going to throw a bunch of different looks at Luka. I think the wrinkle is, I'm telling you, I don't know exactly what it looks like, but making Luka play defense. So what exactly does that look like? I think Ant at times is going to guard LeBron. So that is going to be a fascinating matchup. Yep. And what exactly do the Julius Randle minutes look like both ends of the floor? Can he guard, especially in the pick and roll, Is he playing bully ball? Is he dominating the ball? I'm okay, depending on the matchup, if he's doing that at times. But I don't want him doing that a ton. I don't want Julius to feel like he needs to be the hero this series. Julius has had some really bad playoff moments in his history. Does he try to reverse that trend too much? And hey, does Ant play hero ball? Does Ant say, hey, like, I need to lead us. It's me. I need to go for 35 to 40 every night. I don't think that's a recipe for success. But yeah, I mean, Chris Finch, I talk about JJ Redick being really smart. I may get some blowback on this, but I think Chris Finch is a pretty darn good tactician. I think Micah Nori on staff is really smart. I think Elston Turner on staff is really smart. They have a lot of coaches that really know what the heck they are doing. So I think this is a fascinating matchup. I just think from a Wolves fan standpoint, it's like, why couldn't the Warriors beat the Clippers on Sunday?
Yeah. Man, there's so many interesting matchup things. There's a small sample size of data, and some great people on Wolves Twitter have been passing videos around of Julius Randle guarding Luka Doncic, and there's productivity there defensively that maybe you wouldn't think. So I'm not saying that Julius is going to be the A1 primary defender on Luka, but like, as you're switching and trying to navigate pick and rolls, if he switches on to Luka, like he's had some success there. The one guy that really
makes betting on that success continuing, though? I'll need to look at those clips. I need to see what that success, how you define success, what that looks like. Did Luka miss a good look and you count that as success? Like, I need to see the video of that, but I don't feel good about Julius in long stints guarding Luka this series.
The one thing that I am the most nervous about is Mike Conley on defense in this series, because like you could say, well, the Lakers don't have a ton of size. That's true at the top end. They don't have, like, they got Jackson Hayes, who probably plays 12, 15 minutes, but what they do have is a very high floor on their size. So like there's the preferred 5-man lineup when they're running out Finney Smith off the bench. Austin Reeves is the shortest guy on that floor, and he's 6'5", over 200 pounds. Who's Mike Conley guarding in this series is my question. If Mike Conley can't play 25, 30 minutes because of just matchup issues, does Finch stubbornly stick with him? Does he move him out of the starting lineup for more Dante DiVincenzo, Nickeil Alexander-Walker minutes, Jalen Clark minutes? Really curious to see where and how Mike Conley fits against this Lakers team, Dukes.
I'm with you, but like right now, it doesn't feel like a Mike Conley Jr. series. It just doesn't. Like, Austin Reeves is going to eat up that matchup. So what's the score after the first 7 minutes? Okay, because Mike will start. We know that on Saturday. He will start. But what's the score at that first TV timeout? Right? Like, what does that Mike Conley defense look like on Austin Reeves? Would you at all roll the dice on Mike guarding Rui Hachimura?
Boy, I mean,
as weird as that sounds,
it's like an 8-inch height difference.
But there's enough help side. Rudy comes over.
Wow.
Would you take your chances at all when Mike is on the floor? Because you want to play Mike enough that go guard Rui. Or do you stagger the minutes so when Jared Vanderbilt is out there,
just go
there's
follow
no worry
him,
of Jared, right, on the offensive end. What the hell's Jared going to do against Mike?
Yeah. I guess you probably welcome
Jared is just standing in the corner.
Yeah.
I will also say, though, okay, so the Wolves are the deeper team. Like, I don't think there's any debate about that. But what exactly does the schedule look like? Like, we'll know later today. I was going back and forth with somebody with the Wolves last night. And he's like, we should know by Tuesday afternoon, Tuesday evening of the full schedule. So we know game 1 is on Saturday. But when is game 2? Is it Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday? There's going to be enough of a separation. They push these first-round series out enough.
Yep.
And so, like, does depth really matter? Like, LeBron is going to play 40 minutes. Luka is going to play 40 minutes. There's going to be enough recovery time between games. So while it sounds nice that the Wolves are the deeper team, how much does that truly matter?
Interesting. So if game 1 does not go well with Conley, do you consider starting Dante in game 2?
You should.
I think you have to. I mean, I hope Nikhil plays a good amount of minutes this series too.
Sure.
But yeah, I mean, if you're making the starting lineup change,
start.
it would be Dante. Sure.
Yeah.
I want to make sure that Nikhil is out there. Like I think there's going to be circumstances, clutch time. I mean, inevitably there's going to be a few games in this series that the score is within 5 minutes to go. I hope Nikhil. Now, game flow matters. I understand that, but like I hope that Chris doesn't just go to some of his old habits and say, "Okay, Nikhil on the bench." I think Nikhil needs to show up in this series, but he needs to be given that opportunity to show up.
Yeah, you also need Jaden McDaniels had an incredible 2-month stretch there, and some of it was out of necessity when guys were injured, where you saw like the peak version of him, and he's dropping doubles, he's rebounding, and he's scoring 18, 20, 24 points, 30 points on a couple occasions. You need something closer to that version of Jaden McDaniels, especially Dukes, to your point earlier. If they're going to put Luka on him defensively, that happened all too often in the Western Conference Finals, where Luka is owning you on the offensive side and then just like resting for 30 seconds, doing nothing on defense. I would literally call his ass to the top of the key every possession on a pick and roll and run him through the ringer.
Sting it, Phil. Yes.
Let's go.
Yes.
Call his ass
Those are the lessons, right, Judd? You go back and you watch the Western Conference Finals, then watch the finals. And I get the Celtics personnel is in a different stratosphere. I understand that. But watch what the Celtics did making Luka work in the finals. Then go watch back what you did with Luka in the Western Conference Finals. There are lessons to be gleaned, lessons to be learned. So, yes. What exactly? Like, I'm not an X's and O's expert. I fully admit that, right? But I'm just saying,
close.
Making Luka work on the defensive end is a must. See if you can bait him. Heck, we talk about Ant's immaturity at times. Luka's also immature. Can you bait Luka? Because you know the Lakers are going to try to bait Anthony Edwards. In fact, a few weeks ago in LA, wasn't Ant kicked out of that game?
Was that the game? Was that before the Utah game? Yeah, that was the 16th technical game, wasn't it?
Yeah. So I mean, he was booted from the last time they played. So you know the Lakers are going to try to bait Ant. But why can't the Wolves bait Luka? He will take the bait. So yeah, I mean, there's so many different fascinating subplots.
Who are the options to guard him then? Jaden obviously is one.
Well, Jaden, I mean, I think Phil's right. I think at times Julius.
Okay. Yeah, it's going to be,
Ant. I mean, we saw Ant at times. I think Jalen Clark.
I was going to say, so here's where I think Clark is, if it's a doable thing, a great fit there. If you watch Clark play, he's Velcro. And the other thing he does really well is he frustrates opponents without getting frustrated himself. Like that dude's facial expression does not change. And the other thing that impresses me is I don't feel like he picks up, for as hard as he plays defense, I don't feel like he picks up an inordinate amount of fouls, which like Jaden gets called for a lot of them. Because I think you're right, Dukes. I think the most important thing is how do you frustrate Doncic to get him off his game? Because once he's off his game, he's going down a path that he doesn't necessarily know how to stop. He gets really, really mad, starts to scream at officials. And this is in some ways a battle of tees, right? Like the Lakers are going to try to taunt Ant into getting techs. And you've got to do the same to Doncic, because if it gets you off your game, I think that's a huge part of the potential here for this series.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Can they? You know, and like
Jalen
Luka
Clark
is what, a legit, Phil, is he 6'7" and a half? I don't know what he's listed as.
He's listed at like 6'6".
People know like exactly what he is. 6'7".
He's got really long. He's got really long arms, though. He's got a long wingspan,
and
he's unbothered.
What's he weigh? I mean, I know there's been all sorts of jokes about his conditioning and all that, but there's some girth there, right? Like, what is he? 245, 250?
Yeah,
240? Maybe more.
He's significantly bigger than Jalen Clark, which is a
correct. That's what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think there's snippets of stretches where Jalen can guard Luka, but I don't think you're going to do that for a really long time. Plus, what do the offensive possessions look like with Jalen in the game? But I think he's an option. I mean, you go back to the Western Conference Finals last year; it was a lot of Kyle Anderson.
Yeah, it
And
was.
so, okay, Kyle gone, which is fine because there were hurdles on the offensive end. So that's fine if Kyle was guarding Luka on one end, but the other end was an issue. Okay, but Kyle's gone. That crutch for Chris is gone. So, yeah, I mean, it'll begin with Jaden, though, right? Like, so can Jaden stay out of foul trouble? Can Jaden take his game to another level? If he doesn't, do you then, let's say the Lakers win this series in 5 or even 6, it's an average or below average Jaden McDaniels series. At that point, do you say, okay, we are putting Jaden McDaniels on the table in a Kevin Durant trade?
Oh man! Oh, you just went 5 steps ahead.
That's like the
I know I
Thursday
did.
reckless
I know.
speculation.
I want to see. This is a
Because right
week
now I
from
say no.
Thursday
I'm not
discussion.
giving up Jaden. But I'm just saying,
No.
if it's an average Jaden McDaniels series, do you at least consider that?
Boy, I'm going to reserve judgment until at least I see
Fair.
2 games, and then I will
Yeah.
answer it. Okay, hey, we got about a minute left here, Dukes. Give us some rapid fire scoops before we go.
Yeah, well, continuing on the Wolves, so it'll be mid-May. Like, or put it this way, Lori and A-Rod don't expect to hear anything before mid-May at the earliest. Could be later in May, but in terms of Board of Governors approval, there's no issues with that, but it's going to be a little bit. Joe Ryan, brilliant last night. Declan, were you at the ballpark last night?
I was. Both Judd and I were.
Yeah, so what was it? 19 swings and misses induced for Joe? I know the pitch count was up there, but
Yeah.
I thought Joe was fantastic. I do think the day comes eventually, but it hasn't yet in terms of contract extension talks on the Joe Ryan front. But to me, the Twins should want Joe Ryan here for a really, really long time. Trey Holloman, former Cretin-Durham All-Star, leaves Michigan State. I'm told he got $1.5 million to go to North Carolina State. So yeah, good for him.
That's a lot
Absolutely.
of lot of cash right there.
And I was over at Wild practice on Monday. I know this is sort of out there, but Bob Motzko being announced later today as the World Juniors coach is the expectation. That was the buzz over at Tria Rink on Monday morning.
Bad.
Nice. Could be a nice little draw. Nice little
And
draw.
if it's
for the-
Wild against Vegas, which way is it trending, Judd? Wild Vegas or Wild Winnipeg?
Wild Golden Knights.
Okay. Well,
Vegas.
there's a WWE event. It's WrestleMania weekend.
Oh,
That's
boy.
at the Raiders Stadium, but there's some minor league wrestling event at the Golden Knights Arena on Saturday. So it would look like game 1 would be Sunday at the earliest.
I hope it's Sunday night
God.
because I got brunch plans.
I know. Yeah.
So
Easter
they
Sunday?
cannot play
Heck
an
yeah, great
afternoon
brunch
game because
day.
I can't tell Dawn now. She's had those. She
I know.
booked that a long time ago. This is going to cause me a lot of problems if they play Sunday afternoon. Gary, make sure it's a Sunday night game.
and
All
clear
right,
out a
I'm trying to see if I
WrestleMania.
wrote down
Okay,
anything
just go.
else.
Clearly, they're going to.
Twins had a scout to watch Will Haas, Rockford High School. Really not that far from here. If you want to go watch a really good lefty pitcher who's going to the University of Tennessee, Will Haas, the Twins were
Texas
among
driving.
major league teams at his start against Dassel Cocato last week. He had 13 strikeouts in 5 innings, but at times was sitting 86, 87. Now, the weather wasn't great. Topped out at 91. I think he ends up at Tennessee, but certainly the Twins doing their due diligence on the best high school player in the state. Subjective, but Will Haas is the real deal.
Darren Doogie Wilson, folks.
Great
From the
stuff,
5
Rich.
Eyewitness News Sports Department. We'll see you in a couple days, Doogie.
Okay, Reckless Speculation Thursday. I like it. See you, boys.
That's right. All right, Minnesota Sports with Mackie and Judd. See you guys.